You're on a weight loss journey, and then you've got cravings, and then you give into a bite of the cravings, and then you feel guilt and shame, and then you tell yourself that you're going to restart tomorrow or next Monday or the start of the month or the start of the year. The cycle continues for 1, 5, 10, 20, for some of y'all even 30, 40 or more years. The issue is that you're so focused on trying to figure out how to work through cravings and how to have enough discipline to work through the cravings and how to just stay motivated and get more control over food. But the reality is you're missing the whole point. The point is for you to not actually have cravings anymore. Putting obesity behind you is not staying ultra motivated and ultra disciplined to learn how to just say no every day. It's not having the urges in the first place to the level that you can't control. And if you relate to that idea of it's late at night and you're just sitting there thinking about ice cream, you're like, I'm just going to have one bite. And you go have a bite and you go lay back in bed. And then you're like, oh God, I'm just going to have 2 more bites. And you start doing some weird OCD thing of like counting the bites of ice cream that you're eating. And then before you know it, all of the dirty spoons and forks are in the sink. And now you got to do another load of dishes. Like that's the level that I'm speaking from. Hi, I'm Nick. I lost 110 pounds and I've kept it off for 6 years since 2019 after a lifetime of losing weight and gaining it back on every single diet that you have ever heard of or ever tried. I always had the drive and the discipline to lose weight, but never knew how to keep the weight off. And I'm doing that in air quotes for those of you that are just listening on Spotify or Apple or another podcast platform. If you relate to that story and you relate to the idea of feeling controlled by cravings and just not knowing how to work through them, this will be the podcast episode that changes the way that you look at sustainable weight loss and cravings for good. Should you be open to that? Should your soul be ready to actually put the issue behind you? Grab a pen and grab a paper because I'm about to walk you through 6 things you need to do to not have cravings in the first place. And this is, again, very different than strategies to work through cravings. You do need to know how to work through cravings because you'll have cravings sometimes, especially in the very, very, very beginning of your journey. But after just a couple of times of working through them, you now need to know how to not have them anymore after you've demonstrated the strength to just say no, even just a couple of times. And this is how you do that. Number 1, eat 3 meals a day. A lot of y'all, including me when I was fat and on my weight loss journey at the same time, are doing intermittent fasting. You know, we're going to skip breakfast and just do lunch and dinner. Sometimes even just dinner. Sometimes alternate day eating or doing full fasting days. And this is only, again, this is not for those of you that are like, maybe if I switch from Coca-Cola to Diet Coca-Cola, then I'll be able to fit into my wedding dress if I lose 7 pounds. This is for those of you that are 40 to 100 to 150 pounds. Like 60 plus kilos overweight that have been losing weight and gaining it back your whole life the way that I did. So I'm speaking to those of you that have really got that fat mindset, not those of you that are like, I might eat 200 calories more than I should. Those of you that are either always overeating or always undereating. The reason why skipping breakfast appeals so much is a couple of reasons. One is sometimes when you wake up, you just don't want any food. But deeper than that, we play mental games with ourselves that are like, if I just skip breakfast, then I'll have more calories for lunch, more calories for dinner. But the reality of what actually happens is by the time you get to dinner, you've only eaten lunch, and it probably wasn't a big lunch, right? Or any lunch at all. So now you haven't eaten for a long time. You're definitely not properly satiated. You get to dinner coming from a place of actual starvation, whether you're physically hungry or not. You might be out of tune with your actual bodily hunger. In my case, when I was fat, it felt like I could go days without eating and never actually be hungry, but that's because I was really unattuned to what my body actually needed, and that's something that you might relate to and that takes time to learn and practice and comes naturally over time through this sort of work. And that's when you start getting into more things like intuitive eating. You can't eat intuitively if you've been losing weight and gaining it back your whole life because you don't have the relationship and the connection to your body to actually eat intuitively, and that's okay, but you need to understand that first off. When you eat a full breakfast and a full lunch, you get to dinner and you do not have the urges to binge. Because a lot of the times what happens is, even after we eat that dinner, we're like, oh shit, I only ate 2 meals, and then we end up eating more later. Or we just get to dinner and we're telling ourselves we're going to have a 700 calorie dinner, but it just turns into a lot more. And mentally we justify that by being like, boy, I didn't eat breakfast today. Or we just get going because we're coming from a place of being hungry and having cravings, and the cravings start to take over, right? And then we're just a full day of just not being really satiated and then eating too much for dinner, more than what we probably should have. And there's a lot of people that are really into this 1 meal a day and intermittent fasting thing. That works for certain people, but you've already tried it and it hasn't worked for you. So let's stop trying that shit and let's try doing what most healthy people are actually doing, which is eating 3 meals. Because when you eat breakfast, even when you're not hungry. This is not popular advice in the, quote unquote eating disorder community. But if there's one thing that I know about the eating disorder community, it's that most of those people that are fat in that community never put obesity behind them. They exist in the cycle of still not having the relationship with food that they want, still trying to find the right thing for them. It's not about the right thing for you. It's about what is going to help you not have cravings so that you can put that mental energy into something else. And the best way to do it is to spend 3 minutes making a quick breakfast. And there's so many quick things that you can do. But on a really basic level, the thing that I eat for breakfast the most is just Greek yogurt with frozen fruit in there with honey. That breakfast alone, I call it bullshit ice cream. Does it taste like ice cream? No. But do I crave ice cream? Absolutely not. Literally ever. If I'm walking by an ice cream place, I might go, God, that ice cream sounds good. But I'm not like, oh, I need ice cream. I can't sleep until I get a bite. I'm obsessed. I can't even be present with my girlfriend or my kids. Or it's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. The food doesn't control me anymore because I am properly satiated throughout the day with 3 square meals. Pick a breakfast that's lickety split. You can do overnight oats plus Greek yogurt. Make sure it's a high protein breakfast made of mostly whole foods and with some fruit. We're going to talk about that too. But pick a breakfast that works for you and give yourself permission to just eat the same breakfast or the same 2 breakfasts every day. Let it be a standardized thing, not a place that's like, how do I get the most enjoyment? How do I get this done quick in a way that I actually like, in a way that makes me feel not starving later in the day? Most people have never done that. When I was fat, I never did. I never ate breakfast. Then I'd bitch about my cravings and be like, oh, well, I haven't eaten anything today. And it's 3 o'clock, let's go to the pizza buffet. Had my ass just eaten breakfast, that urge wouldn't have been there the same way. Again, we're not talking about how to work through the urges. We're talking about how to not have them in the first place. That's how you actually heal and put the issue behind you. Eat 3 square meals. Number 2 is eat in a caloric balance per meal. And what this means is not eat a really small breakfast and then eat a really small lunch and then eat a really small dinner. So a bit similar to what I was talking about. Eat an actual satiating meal. So you got to figure out, there's a little bit of math you need to do with weight loss, and you just have to do it one time. You need to figure out what your maintenance calories are. You got to figure out what your caloric target is for the day. So when you figure out that caloric target, I'll walk you through how to do that a little bit lower. Divide it by 3. So if you're eating 1,500 calories per day is your target. So if you're like a postmenopausal woman that's 5 foot 4 inches and 200 pounds, that would probably be pretty reasonable, but look that up just to be sure with a little calculator online, right? Divide that target by 3. So 1,500 divided by 3 is 500 calories per meal. You want to eat pretty close to that for every meal. If you're like, Nick, I'm just really not hungry in the morning, then do 400 calories for breakfast and then 600 for your dinners, right? And then build out different options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can make super fast. Then you already know how many calories are in it the way you make it, so you never have to count calories ever again. Like that, rewind what I just said in the last 7 seconds, listen to it 10 times and let it sit into your subconscious mind and become your default way of living, because that alone will change your life. But the idea of like, I'm going to wake up, breakfast, I just ate a protein bar, something quick on the go, didn't really have the time. Lunch, it's like I only got a 15-minute break at work, and I got other shit that I got to do, and I need to relax at work. It's not about eating, and I'd rather save those calories for dinner. That's not working, and it doesn't work for most people. It's okay to eat a bit of a bigger dinner than breakfast if you're like really not wanting to eat breakfast, but you have to actually balance out your calories throughout the day so that your body is coming always from a place of satiation, never from a place of starvation. Again, this is not about how to work through cravings. We're not here to lose weight. We're here to put the issue behind us for good. And the only way to do it is to not have intense cravings that you can't control in the first place. And that one change alone, you do that for 2 days, you won't have the same cravings. For literally 2 days. If you do that for 2 days and it doesn't work, message me on Instagram or email me or respond to this episode, and I will shout you out, first name, in the next podcast saying, I was wrong. This person did it. You can send me a personal video and say, Nick, I tried that and it didn't work. It will work for every single person. Your cravings will be 10% what they were before if you just balance out your calories throughout the day and actually eat a full breakfast and a full lunch before you get to dinner. Number 3, we've talked a lot about calories. We've talked about balancing out the calories. We've talked about doing it non-obsessively by just setting up go-to meals, right? We've talked about eating 3 meals a day. Now we need to talk about the quality of the food. So number 3 is eat whole foods. And by whole foods, this is controversial. I mean real foods. I mean natural foods. Foods that are close to naturally occurring. Foods that humans have been eating some version of for more than the last 75 years. So I'm talking about meat and dairy and rice and potatoes and fruit and vegetables. Those are really the 6 main categories, right? There's really not a reason to eat foods that are not in those 6 or so categories on any sort of regular basis. So the exception is what I call eat mom's or enjoy mom's apple pie when she makes it, meaning when there's a celebration, food is connection and food is culture. But on a very basic level, what the common sense diet is, the most elementary level is I eat healthy foods unless there is a reason to not eat healthy foods. You go, well, Nick, I like unhealthy foods. Yeah, but it's not so much that you like them, because I like unhealthy foods too, maybe even more than you do. I don't know, right? But I love unhealthy foods. The thing is, I'm so satiated from healthy foods that I don't think about the unhealthy foods unless they're right in front of my face, which isn't very regularly, right? So again, this is about how to not have the cravings. So I never go to bed and go, God, I got to get some Dairy Queen. Like, I wish that I could just like, I'm going to go walk down to the corner store market and get a candy bar because like I deserve it, man. Like it's life, you know? And like for what else? I got kind of sad. It's like that doesn't exist for me anymore because I'm so properly satiated. So the reason why eating whole foods, meat, fruit, rice, vegetables, potatoes, and dairy products is so important is because they're packed filled with nutrients that you and I don't actually give a fuck about. But on the most basic level, they're protein, minerals, etc. I just come back to the idea of common sense because I used to go down the hyper obsession of making sure I got all of my vitamins and all of my supplements, and I was still fat. And like the idea of trying to figure out your vitamin regimen and your hormonal related issues when you're 50 plus pounds overweight doesn't make any sense, because the best thing that you can do to actually be able to absorb vitamins in the first place and feel better about your life and improve all of your levels and everything is get down to a healthy body weight. So let's get to good before we start majoring in the minors of focusing on what has vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we need, and just come back to common sense, which is that humans were never fat until about 60 to 70 years ago. Before that, being fat was seen as a privilege because that meant that you had enough food to be fat. But as soon as we started introducing foods that were not meat, fruit, rice, vegetables, potatoes, or dairy products, ultra processed foods, that's when we all started feeling like shit and then getting fat and going, I don't know why I'm such a food addict. But the reality is that we just started feeling like shit because of our own obesity, and then feeling undeserving of other things in our life because we lost respect for ourselves and things in our life didn't go the way we wanted. And now we're in the cycle of thinking we have a food issue. But if we just address the life issue, you'll be able to see that when you eat real foods the way humans have been forever, none of these issues exist in the first place, which is what healing actually looks like. Go back and rewind that last 25 seconds again. I know that was a bit quick. That's the medicine that you're looking for if you're suffering from cravings right now. Pausing this episode for 1 second because I've got an ask for you as the listener. I love to keep this show completely ad-free, and the best way that you can support me in doing that is by giving this show a like, either on Spotify or on Apple or even on YouTube if you're watching this in video form. It really helps me get the content out to other people that deserve to know sustainable weight loss is possible, and I will love you forever just for leaving a rating and or a like. Let's get back to the show. Number 4. So number 3 is eat real food. Number 4 is not to undereat. And this is a really important one because a lot of people, I was in an Uber today and this guy asked me what I did for a living, and I told him that I owned a weight loss company. He's asking me all about it. Kind of gave him the 3-minute version of my story, which, you know, is pretty quick for me because I can go all day. And he starts telling me that he used to be 450 pounds. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you wouldn't have been driving Uber at 450. You would have needed an ultra wide van. And we're like laughing. Ex-fat people are my favorite people in the world, especially ex-fat people that can make fun of their old fat selves. Is like, that's the best energy fucking ever, right? This guy went from 450 to 175. He's probably 6 foot to 6'1", like pretty tall guy. So pretty healthy weight for just like a normal build person, right? And he did it by eating 1,000 calories per day for a year. And he's like, yeah, I did it. You know, it sucked and it was really hard. And since then I've gained weight and I'm not proud of that. Now he's at 225. So he's gained about 50 pounds back. And on one side of this, it's like, how cool is that for that guy that lost that weight and saved his own life? And on the other side of it, it's like, didn't really put the issue behind him, because the way that you lose the weight dictates how sustainable your results are. So this idea that this guy's going to eat 1,000 calories per day down to his weight loss goal and then start introducing food and not gain the weight back isn't the truth, because now he's trying to develop a relationship with something that previously he was just saying no. So he's doing mostly just protein shakes and protein bars, right? The reality is that had that same guy been willing to lose weight slower and not been doing something so extreme like 1,000 calories, it A, wouldn't have sucked as much, and B, would have felt much more sustainable because he would have already been living as the healthiest version of himself. Because if someone were to pause him and say, well, let's imagine that it's 5 years after you hitting your weight loss goal and you kept the weight off, what sorts of food are you eating? How much approximately are you eating? He's not eating 1,000 calories a day. He's eating like probably closer to 1,800 to 2,200, somewhere in that range. Now, I always talk about living as your healthiest self right now. So this is the hardest piece of this, is that the healthiest version of yourself is not going to be in a calorie deficit forever. So that's the one caveat here, but they're definitely not starving themselves ever. And they're definitely not drastically undereating. To lose weight, by definition, you have to undereat a little bit. By definition, you have to step into a very slight state of starvation. Never go deeper than a 20% calorie deficit. So here's what to do. I kind of mentioned this earlier. Go online, type in maintenance calorie calculator, plug in your height and it's going to take, pause this and do it right now. Because this is the kind of shit where like people just don't do it. Like, oh yeah, that's some cool information. When I was fat, I would have listened to this podcast and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then not done it. The difference between people that lose weight and people that don't is they actually do this. So you get to decide right now. If you're one of those people that you're like, I don't know why I can't do it. Practice the muscle right now. Pause the podcast after I say this and then go and actually do it. Even if you've done it before, do it again. Figure out your maintenance calories. Multiply that times 0.8. So if your maintenance calories are 1,900, you're going to remove 20% from that. I can't do that in my head. I'm going to guess it's like 1,600 calories or 1,550, somewhere in that range. There is not a world where you should be eating drastically less than that, literally ever, for any reason at all. You should be within a 50 or so calorie range. If you're a little under one day or like 14, that's fine. Like you just come right back to your normal meals that are set up in the way for you to hit that, including the go-to meals that you have when you're out. So you break that into 500 to 600 calorie meals. And you're like, okay, I've got 3 options for breakfast that are 500 to 600 calories. I've got 3 options for lunch that are 500 to 600 calories. I've got 3 options for dinner that are 500 to 600 calories. And I've got 3 options for eating out that are 500 to 600 calories. I have complete freedom. And all these meals are pretty flexible. I can swap out meats, swap out sauces, rice for quinoa for potatoes, full fat Greek yogurt for non-fat Greek yogurt. It's a different taste, honey for maple syrup, etc. Like one fruit for another, one veggie for another, butter for ghee for oil, salts for different seasoning. It's like all like that. God, man. I mean, you take 3 meals, you can make them 9 different ways. You've got 27 options right there. And so it's not really an issue of not knowing what to do. It's an issue of not setting yourself up for a system. And this is a part of the common sense diet. If you eat drastically less than that, you will have cravings. It doesn't matter what the quality, none of this matters if you undereat too much. The part of you that wants to undereat is the same part of you that wants to lose weight as fast as possible. And that part of you wants what's best for you, wants you to be healthy because it wants you to experience true self-love and true self-respect when you look in the mirror, but it's actually sabotaging you because you're trying to get there faster than what you're actually ready for. And the best part of weight loss is not hitting the goal. It's reflecting on the journey of doing it sustainably. And you're missing all of the medicine that your soul came here to receive through weight loss by trying to go faster. Slow the fuck down. Depending on how fat you are, there's really not a reason. If you're 100 plus pounds overweight, you should never be losing more than 3 pounds a week unless it's the first 1 to 2 weeks. If you're 50 pounds overweight, you should never be losing more than 2 pounds a week. If you're 20 pounds overweight, you should never be losing more than 1.5 pounds a week, besides the first 1 to 2 weeks in water weight fluctuations. If you're going faster than that, you're eating too little food. If you're eating too little food, you will have cravings regardless of all the other things that we said. So never undereat too little. Even if you overeat one day, do not undereat to make up for it, because then you're stuck in the cycle of boom, boom, up, down, obsession, all this shit again and again and again. Come back to common sense. Don't starve yourself. So that's number 4, is don't undereat too drastically. Number 5 is eat fruit with every meal. Whew, this is a controversial one. But fruit makes me fat. The sugar is not good for my blood sugar level. But neither is you having cravings and then going and eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's or a Heath bar. I love Heath bars. Okay. Heath bars so this is my candy taste. I don't really ever eat candy anymore. But when I was fat, I would eat Heath bars and 100 grand bars. So most of you listening to this are women. About 3/4 of y'all probably are women over 50. The other quarter of you are men that are typically the same age range. The reality is that you and I probably have similar candy tastes because I eat candy like a grandpa or a grandma. I'm like, any like caramel or toffee type of thing is like, I would prefer that over chocolate any day of the week. The reality is that sugar is not bullshit. The way you consume the sugar may be bullshit. So sugar is not the enemy. The way that you're consuming the sugar is not serving to you. It's also not the enemy. It's just not serving to your healthiest self unless there's a good reason for eating it, like it's Halloween or there's a specific celebration like your anniversary, birthday, or holiday, like something, or, we're celebrating the 1 year of my mom dying and this was her favorite candy. So I do that. Like my grandma passed a few years ago. Her ashes are here in this ring with us on this podcast right now. Much love to Diane. Her favorite candy in the world was chocolate covered honeycomb. So every single year I get chocolate covered honeycomb and do a little ceremony to grandma. It's like, that's an amazing food is connection, food is culture. Is the food good for me? My body? No, it's great for my soul though. And what that does when I eat it with intention is it gets rid of the part of me that feels guilt and shame for eating some bullshit that I should not have otherwise been eating, that then spirals into Monday restarts and fuck it and all this other shit that you and I have been doing for most of our life, most likely if you're still listening to this. When you eat fruit at every meal, you're going to find that you do not have sugar cravings anymore. Every single meal. There's not a reason that you should not be eating at least 3 servings of fruit per day. It's not going to spike your blood sugar level the same way that the same amount of sugar does from a candy bar. An apple might be 100 calories. Half of a Hershey bar might be 100 calories. Maybe even a whole one. I don't know off the top of my head. Those are not made equal because the apple does not intensify your cravings later. It actually helps you get rid of them. It's filled with vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that help you regulate your body and your nervous system. There's no guilt tied to eating an apple, no shame tied to it. It's something that you can eat every single day. It's just common sense. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's probably not actually the truth. I eat an apple all the time and I still go to the doctor sometimes. But it's like, how you feel after the food is what really matters. How you react to eating the food is what really matters. And healthy people are not just eating processed sugar for no reason. They're eating whole sugar and then not having sugar cravings. And sometimes when they have cravings, they're typically actually craving real sugar. Like when I do have cravings, I crave dates and oranges and pineapple. I don't even crave ice cream like at all. If I was walking into an ice cream parlor or you just walked into my place with a tub of ice cream, yes, that would look good. And yes, I would want to bite. And yes, I might even eat one if you're bringing it to me. That's amazing, right? But I'm not like, I need it. I need it. And that's because I feel fully satiated from the sugar. It's just the biggest hack ever. People don't do it, especially all the ex-ketoers listening to this think that sugar is bad for you. It's fucking not. There's fiber in the sugar that slows the absorption of the sugar into your blood, so you don't have the same spike. And even though you do have some spike, you need your blood sugar to spike. You're never going to have perfectly flat blood sugar levels for the rest of your life. You wouldn't want that anyway, medically. When your blood sugar spikes a little bit, it's not then crashing right back down the way it does with processed sugar. It's staying more evened out and flatlined for more sustained energy. Instead of that like sugar high you get during Halloween and you feel like shit, you could eat 2 apples and not feel like shit afterwards with the same amount of sugar that you might actually get from a candy bar. It's because the fiber is slowing down the absorption. You're being met with a bunch of other vitamins and minerals that are helping lift you up, your mood, your energy, all of this sort of thing. It's just common sense that fruit is better for you than candy. What now, side by side, if I have an apple, an orange, dates, pineapple, and blueberries here, and I have ice cream, Heath bars, toffee, honeycomb, and caramel M&Ms right here, which one sounds better? The fucking candy does. Like anyone that's saying the fruit sounds better in that situation is probably full of shit, or they're just having a weird day. But at the end of the day, I know that when I eat this bowl, I'm just going to feel better about my life and not have cravings. I know that when I eat this bowl of bullshit, I'm going to have intense cravings later. I just am. Almost everybody does. Part of the issue is that you and I, when I was in your position, had never actually mastered just eating one candy bar or eating one cookie. It typically changes our behavior for the rest of the day, meaning we try to undereat later or we just get a little bit of fuck it mode. That does not exist with fruit. When you eat more fruit, you will just have less cravings. Again, just try for 2 days. This is not like a multiple week or multiple month path to not having cravings. This is how to not have cravings 48 hours from right now. Properly satiate your body. Don't undereat too much. Eat real food. Eat 3 meals and eat fruit every single day. 3 servings with every meal, and eat the fruit with a meal, not just as a snack, because you're going to find that it digests better when you do that. And you don't have really any blood sugar spike the same way that you do when it's alone, because protein and fat are going to help you there as well. The number one ice cream killer is bullshit ice cream, which is a recipe that I call it's just Greek yogurt with frozen fruit with honey. If you take some full fat Greek yogurt and put it in a bowl with half of a cup of frozen blueberries or a full cup with some honey on the top, and then do a side of another fruit or half of a fruit, you're not going to want ice cream later in the day if you follow these other things too. These are just rubrics that you can bring with you for your life. They're not hard rules. The very, very, very last thing is to go to bed on time. It's probably the most underrated thing. Besides fruit, fruit is the most underrated for cravings, for sugar cravings specifically. This is the second most underrated one, is to go to bed on time. And what I mean by on time is, I mean with some regularity. All these people online, my morning routine, your morning routine doesn't mean shit. Your nighttime routine matters 10 times more than your morning routine is. Because if you're not going to bed on time, the probability of you getting up to have a morning routine is about 10% maybe on a good day, right? And a lot of people, including myself when I was fat, this idea of having cravings and binging would come really late at night. Go to bed on time, then the cravings aren't going to come. You're super dysregulated. Like again, we come back to common sense. It's not about diving into the science and becoming hyper obsessive, but when you're not on a regular sleep schedule, your circadian rhythm is off. You're out of touch with your hunger cues. You can't really connect with your body. You're kind of tired all day. You don't know why, even though you're eating kind of good. I'm kind of sleeping like shit. Well, yeah, because I'm on my screen until 11:30 at night, and then when I'm really tired, I just pass out at 9. And then when I do that, I wake up early. I have a ton of energy. So then I end up staying up later that night because I feel better. And, I want to enjoy this couple hours that I have to myself before I go to bed, where I can eat ice cream, because this is the best part of my day. Well, it shouldn't be the best part of your day. If you built a life for yourself that you actually gave more fucks about and felt better with, then the food wouldn't have the same pull. The cravings wouldn't exist the same way. That's really an underrated way to not have cravings. But meet that with just going to bed. It's like if you just go to bed at a specific time. It doesn't need to be 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12. It can be whatever time works for your schedule. You just need to hit it with a certain level of consistency. Like 6 nights a week minimum, you should be going to bed at about the same time, give or take 15 minutes either direction. And it's like, again, yeah, I don't know, like the kids, you got to set up a life where that's possible. This is why sustainable weight loss is really confronting, because all the reasons that just came into your head why you can't do it, the definition of commitment is what you're willing to say no to. It's not about what you're doing, it's about what you are not doing. And you are not currently setting up a position for yourself to actually do that. So to recap the 6 things that we talked about in this episode, number 1, this is to never have cravings again. And again, you're going to, like when you walk through the mall and smell cinnamon rolls, you're gonna feel like that smells good and you want to eat it. I'm not talking about cravings in that way. Everybody has that. That's by design. I'm talking about cravings, like being home, being like, okay, I gotta get this food. Where am I gonna get the food? You've got to kill those, because no one is gonna have the discipline to work through them all the time. If you do these 6 things, I promise you will not have cravings in 2 days. You will not have withdrawals from the foods that you're craving at all. Number 1 is eat 3 meals a day. Number 2 is balance out the meals, meaning eat a full breakfast, a full lunch, and a full dinner. Number 3 is eat real food. If you just cut processed food for 2 days in this little experiment here, the cravings will go away. Number 4 is not to undereat too drastically, not more than a 20% deficit from maintenance. Number 5 is eat fruit with every meal. That's 3 servings of fruit per day. And number 6 is go to bed on time. I swear to God that if you do those things, cravings are not going to be an issue. If you want to actually put obesity behind you, you need to get to the point where you don't have cravings anymore. And that's how to do it. If you made it to the end of this podcast episode, thanks for being here. You absolutely have what it takes to lose weight. You absolutely have what it takes to not have cravings anymore. And you absolutely have what it takes to put obesity behind you for good. Had someone told me that sooner, it might have saved me years of hating myself into results that were never sustainable and never permanent in the first place. If you'd like for me to guide you on the journey to actually healing the issue for good, you can click the link in the description of this podcast episode or this YouTube video, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Whether you do that or not, see you next week.